You've been following the news of what occurred at the Reiner residence on Sunday, the brutal death of not only Rob Reiner, but his wife, Michelle Singer Reiner. Earlier today, I got the chance to speak with Michael Babcock. He's the executive producer of TMZ. They broke this story on Sunday. They have been on top of every detail, and I had a chat with him about where the investigation stands.
Nick was arrested on Sunday night at about 9 p.m. and he has been in custody since. Initially, there was a $4 million bond, which was then changed to no bond. So he wasn't going anywhere. But the reality was that he had not yet been charged, and nobody knew what he would ultimately be charged with. We now know it's going to be 2 counts of first-degree murder with special circumstances. Now, there are 2 ways that the officials here, the DA, could approach this. They could seek life without the possibility of parole. Clearly, that would mean that Nick Reiner would never walk free again. Or the death penalty is on the table because of that special circumstance. Now, it doesn't mean that the DA is going to seek the death penalty. I imagine that he is going to get with the remaining family, the Reiner family, and ask what their wishes are and what would they like to see happen here. And I think that will weigh heavily on his decision. We will see, though. 2 counts, first-degree murder with special circumstances for allegedly murdering his mother and his father.
Based on what we were able to learn from the press conference and what your sources are telling you, do the details of the crime measure up to a death penalty case?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think it's so egregious. I mean, the thought of harming the people who brought you into this world. I mean, it's almost too shocking to even believe that it's real. And then when you consider his history, Nick is 32 years old. He has, and it's been well documented since he was 15 years old, more than half of his life at this point. He has battled issues, a lot of it originating from substance abuse issues that has caused him to at times be homeless. But throughout that period, that near 20-year period, his mom and his dad have desperately tried to help him. And as a matter of fact, we were told from people who are familiar with the way that Rob and Michelle were thinking about their son and what was going on with them, they felt exasperated. They were at wit's end, was the way that it was put to us. Not because they didn't love him. They did. They loved him so much. They were just, I think, at the point where they were ready to pull their hair out because they just didn't know what to do to help him anymore. They were that desperate to get their son in a place where he could live life in a functional way and he could be happy and they could be happy and everyone could get along. And obviously, it doesn't seem like that happened given what he has now been accused of.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that is most tragic is it doesn't appear, I didn't know them, but it doesn't appear as if these are two people who buried their heads in the sands, not willing to recognize that their son had a problem. It seems like it was the exact opposite, that they were trying everything, including I read a report from Maria Shriver, who apparently was very, very close to the couple, who said they were talking about family troubles
Right.
with Nick and how they wanted to help and how they had tried everything. And so this leads me to ask about the Conan O'Brien Christmas party
Yeah.
because something happened at that party, and that was
Yeah.
right before the murders.
Absolutely. And I think it's ultimately going to be very important and play a crucial role in what ultimately allegedly happened here. But every year, Conan O'Brien throws a holiday party, and it's kind of like a ritzy and a glamorous event where a lot of his celebrity friends will get together. And Conan O'Brien and the Reiners were friends, and they would often attend the party. And it was no different this year. Everybody gets dressed up nice. You wear a suit. You've got a dress on, and everyone attends the party and has a good time. Well, they brought Nick this year. We were told, however, Nick just seemed out of place at the event. He was wearing a hoodie, was acting very aloof and detached, and not conversating with people, and it just seemed like something was off with Nick. Then later on in the night, we were told that Rob Reiner and Nick got into a big fight, a big argument, a blowout verbal altercation that was so bad and so intense that Rob Reiner and Michelle ultimately left the party. It's unclear if Nick left the party or not, but mom and dad did leave. Obviously, then that Saturday night on Sunday at about 3:40 p.m., their daughter Rami walks into their Brentwood home and finds her parents slain and calls 911. Obviously, the Conan party was one of the last places where they were seen publicly. In fact, the last place they were seen out publicly together.
Is the general working theory from what you're hearing from your sources that they were killed in their sleep or killed at their home or killed in the middle of the night? Do we know? Because it seems like there's now a huge gap of time that needs to
Yes.
be
So
filled in, and
this
that's what
is, I don't
investigators
know
are.
if interesting is the right word, but this I think is a crucial piece here that the investigators are going to have to figure out. So Conan party Saturday night, they have the fight. Sunday morning at 4 a.m., Nick, who was living in the Brentwood compound, a big, beautiful house where they lived, he checks into a hotel 4 a.m. in Santa Monica one night, pays with a credit card. We were told, looked out of it, but not that he had any wounds on him or he was bloodied, nothing like that. Ultimately, checkouts the next morning at 11 a.m. He never physically actually checks out. When it comes time for the hotel staff to go and clean the room and get it prepared for whoever's going to stay in that room next, the room is a bloody mess when they walk in. Now, this is probably sometime around 11 a.m., noon in that time frame. This is before his Rob Reiner and Michelle were found. This was 4 hours or so before. The room is a bloody mess. The window is covered with a sheet, and there's blood on the bed. There's blood on the walls, the rug, all over the place. Obviously, at that point, police are called. So I think the question is here: was something allegedly done to the Reiners before Nick checked into that hotel, and was he able to hide whatever blood he might have had on his person until he could get in the room? And then did he sort of, as he's kind of taking his clothes off, is blood then transferred into the hotel room, or does he allegedly sneak out of the hotel room after he checks in at 4 p.m., go back to his parents' home, harm them, and then comes back to that hotel room and gets the room all bloodied, kind of sneaking in back in without anybody seeing him? I think those are the two possibilities there. It's got to be one of those two, as long as he is behind this crime, as obviously the district attorney and the police think he is.
Do you think, and do your sources believe that we are going to find a motive here, that we are going to know what really happened?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think we likely will, because the reality is you had a lot of people at that Conan party who saw and heard what happened. You've got a lot of people who are really familiar with the inner workings and the family dynamic. So I think perhaps we don't find out exactly verbatim what might have been said if this argument carried over back to the home and it turned violent. I don't know that we will ever find that out. I hope so. I hope so for the family's sake. I think we will learn more though about the dynamic between them, and they were really integrated into that community there. I mean, one of the first calls after Rami Reiner made this phone call to police, asking for help desperately, one of the first people she called was Billy Crystal, who then came over to the scene. And Billy Crystal was there with his wife. He was dear friends with Rob Reiner. He actually saw his friend's body before it was taken away. That's how quick he got to the scene. So I think they really were a part of that, an integral part of that community. And I do think a lot of people really were in the know about what was going on with Nick, Rob, and Michelle here.
It's shocking that the details of that fight haven't yet come out. I mean,
Yeah,
there was a fight, but I mean, again, you're saying this was at a holiday party. This was
right.
not in a private room someplace. This was out in the open. One last thing, we also understand that Alan Jackson has been retained to represent
Yeah,
him and to represent Nick, and of course, he's presumed innocent. But boy,
yeah.
oh boy, this he's one of the heavy hitters in terms of defense attorneys.
I could not agree more. I mean, you want to talk about somebody who will put up a formidable defense. It's Alan Jackson. Just obviously is very successful with Karen Reed. He got Kevin Spacey off of some very serious charges, and I think you talk about the Agnifilos, and obviously I know a case that's happened in your backyard in New York City. But I think he is right up there with the best defense attorneys that you could ever want. So he's gonna be the guy on the other side of Nathan Hochman's office here, and they know for sure now that they have got a fight on their hands, and they better make sure that they are buttoned up across the board, because he is, again, a very competent defense attorney, as competent as they come.
What, as we head into tonight, tomorrow, and the next couple of days, what are you focused on? What is TMZ working on that the rest of us should be waiting to hear?
I'll say this. Speaking of Alan Jackson, he is already seemingly working on a defense. He was at the Reiner's home today, and he went to the courthouse and he went over to the home, already checking things out.
And our thanks to Michael Babcock from TMZ for sharing that update with us.